Hello everyone! Today I'm going to show you the design of the last building on my Modular Diagon Alley MOC. In the original LEGO Diagon Alley set, this building was the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes store and just the entrance to the Knockturn Alley. I decided to go a step further and add a store that is located in the Knockturn Alley, Borgin and Burke. So let me show you the design, and in the end I'll talk a bit about the project, how long it took, my ideas on the design and the next steps. Let's go! So here we are in Bricklink Studio once again, this time for the design of the last building of my Modular Diagon Alley MOC. This is the building with the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes and the entrance to Knockturn Alley. And you can see here the store of the Weasleys, the entrance to the Knockturn Alley, and I added here in the back a new building, which is the Borgin and Burke store that is located in a Knockturn Alley, so I decided to give some more emphasis to the Knockturn Alley here on this MOC. You may see a bit of differences here in the Weasleys building. I had to do a lot of changes on how things were built to allow it to be split by floors. I tried to keep the design itself as close as possible, but I'm not sure I could make it exactly the same on all the places. The most obvious thing that is different, which is an arm and the head of the mechanical man missing, it's here, it's done. I just couldn't fit it there because this is a loose connection and Bricklink doesn't support that. So I had to put it here on the side, but it's done, all the pieces are included, so it's not missing. It's just not in the right place. I also kept the mechanism to make the head go up and down, so I think it's all there. Not a huge amount of changes on this building. I think the biggest change is actually the roof, because I didn't extend a lot the building. I think the building is extended just by 2 studs, and I had to build a wall. So in fact, the building on the inside is just 1 stud bigger than the original one. And I had to adapt the roof that was open in the back to become a full roof. So I had to do quite some changes here. So you can see that it's a bit different. Also, I did some changes in the portal to Knockturn Alley. This window had more depth, but I reduced it so that it wouldn't be too close to the windows on the Weasley's shop. And because I had to do something in the back, so I actually reproduced the window. So I needed for that to be thinner, otherwise this would be really weird. Also, I changed here the roof. And now is when I warn you that I will probably have some spoilers. If you haven't seen the Harry Potter movies, you might want to skip this video or play it without sound and without captions so that you won't get spoiled. The warning is done. So this roof here is like this because in the Deathly Hallows movie, there's a scene where Harry Potter, Ron, and Hermione are on top of the roof seeing Malfoy and his mother and other mischievous characters seeing a very special closet in the first floor of a building. Actually, it's not exactly the Borgin and Burke building, but I just did that change so that I could fit all those props in this building. And I added this roof here so that you can put here the minifigures, for instance, and reproduce that scene. And the Borgin and Burke, I took some inspiration on the Harry Potter movies. There are at least 2 scenes where Borgin and Burke appear. So I took some inspiration, especially here for the ground floor. And for the first floor, I just tried to keep it coherent with the ground floor. And the roof, I saw some images, but I had no great reference. And I decided to be a bit creative here and added here the statues of 2 crows here in the roof. I think it would be a good detail to increase a bit the darkness of the building. I don't know if I will adapt this design of the crow. I'm not completely happy with it. I took inspiration on two crows that appear in the Viking ship set that will release soon. Actually, when you are seeing this video, it was already released. But I'm pretty sure that I didn't got it completely right. So I'll probably still check that design and adapt this design a bit. But I think that it was a really interesting touch to add to the building. I also want to talk about the back, because the design of the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes already had this window here, which is a bit strange because you have the connection points here to add other buildings on the side. So either you have a very low building, or this would be weird. These windows might be covered by another building. I added these windows here on the Borgin and Burke building because in the scenes we see light coming from the back, so there are windows there. Also, it's quite limiting for any other building that we want to add here, so I'm still considering if I keep these windows here or I remove them, or I add some in the first floor or not. I'm still deciding this. Probably this will change. Although I had some ideas for a building next to this that wouldn't conflict with this, but probably it's best to put the windows in the first floor anyway. In the ground floor, it's just too limiting for the building here. Also, you might notice that I also added the pieces to add another building on this side. So actually, on this MOC, you could attach here 3 other modulars. One on this side, one here, and this on the front. That is where originally this would be attached to the Flourish and Blots building. So you can really attach 3 buildings to this one. Okay, so I think this covers the outside. Let's look at the inside. Let's start with the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes. Let me start by removing the roof and see the last floor of the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes. Not a lot of difference between this and the original design. I didn't change much the interior. This decoration, the things are all equal. You might see differences here on how the roof fits in, on how the walls are built, that I had to change a lot. So you might see a lot of differences there. But the interior itself, it's the same. I also think that I moved the stairs 1 stud to the side. You have more space here on this corridor. It was just not to leave a stud. Since I had to increase 2 studs in the building, it was weird to have an isolated stud on the side. So I moved the stairs 1 stud to the side and left more space here on this side. So roof out, let's remove the 2nd floor. And you see that in terms of interior is also the same. You're missing some kind of giant lollipops here on this small bucket, but they are here on the side as well. So in terms of interior, it's the same. Also here on this side, it's the same. And same thing on the ground floor. The only thing that I did on the ground floor was add here the love potion display that had no place to fit in the original Diagon Alley set, although it was a build included. And I just managed to have a space and put it here. I think it actually is in a very near place to what it is really in the movie. And it had some space, so I put it here. and other than that, mostly equal. So that's it for the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes. As you can see, in this case, like in Flourish and Blots, only the ground floor is common. All the other floors are removed separately in the two buildings. In this case, it makes even more sense than in Flourish and Blots because you have a lavender building on one side and a very dark gray and black building on the other. These are like different worlds, so it would be very weird to have this color in common and have a shared wall. So it made a lot of sense to split completely the buildings and have completely different detachable floors. So that's what I did. Regarding Borgin and Burke, let's start by removing the ceiling. And you can see here the first floor of Borgin and Burke. If you have any ideas for some things to add here, let me know. I worried about putting what appears in the movie, which is a desk or a working table on the first floor. This is just a cabinet with stuff. That's something that I put a lot on Borgin and Burke. Cabinets protected with glass with stuff in it. And I have here the cabinet that is used for the bad guys to enter Hogwarts. And actually I made this cabinet opening. It can move and open and reveal the inside. It has some hinges here, as you can see, and here, so it opens up. This appears on a scene on Deathly Hallows. It's not, I believe, on the first floor of Borgin and Burke, although to access this, that is in another building, Malfoy and his mother enter through Borgin and Burke. So I thought it made sense to put it here. So this is the first floor. Let me show you the ground floor. And on the ground floor we have first the fireplace where Harry Potter appears when he first uses the flu powder on the Weasley's house, and he doesn't intones perfectly Diagon Alley, so he ends up on Borgin and Burke. That's the first scene where Borgin and Burke appears. And I tried to put here the fireplace, some things that he looks at, although I couldn't really reproduce the hand that grabs him. I tried, but I couldn't do it. And then there's an extended version of that scene that was deleted, where he is there. He just arrived through the fireplace, and both the father and son Malfoy, Draco Malfoy and his father, appear in the store to sell some dark arts items, and Harry hides in like a sarcophagus. So I created this kind of sarcophagus here. It doesn't open, it doesn't have any functionality, but it's here to reference that scene. On that scene you also see the counter where I don't know if it's Borgin or Burke or any descendant or an employee is receiving the customers. So I reproduced the counter, and here more cabinets with weird artifacts and a skeleton and skulls and all that. I also added here a doorbell because you hear a bell ringing when someone comes through the door in this store, in the scenes, so I added it here. And of course we have a stair to the first floor. I used a design very similar to the one in the Flourish and Blots. So that's it. I hope you like the design. This building took me 62 hours, which brings me near to 200 hours invested in the project. This was definitely the hardest one. Not only because I had to design a building from scratch, but also because the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes was the hardest one to split into several floors. Since the beginning, I had the idea to include Borgin and Burke into the MOC. If you saw my first video presenting the project, you might remember that I complained that some of the locations were poorly represented in the original Diagon Alley set. One was the Daily Prophet, the other was the Knockturn Alley. So the idea here was to add a building to the Knockturn Alley so that it would be properly represented. So the details changed, but actually the high-level plan was like this since the beginning. That's why I sorted the buildings to MOC in this order, to have progressive challenges along the way. First, Ollivander, that was the easiest one, where I learned the process, defined what worked and what didn't, and learned how to do some things technically in terms of build. Then the Daily Prophet, where I had to design an interior of a building, a newsroom, from scratch. Then Flourish and Blots, where I had to start dealing with tiled roofs. The other ones were terraces, and that was something different that I had to learn how to split the buildings in that configuration. And finally, the Weasleys Wizard Wheezes, where I had to really design a new full building. For this design of Borgin and Burke, I mainly took inspiration in the Harry Potter movies. I will link in the description to videos with the scenes where Borgin and Burke appear in the movies so that you can compare. Now I will go a bit to the beginning. I want to take a look to all the designs because I have some great feedback that I would like to try to incorporate. I already know that there are some things that I could have done better or that are actually a bit wrong and I want to fix. So I will quickly revise the full designs. I don't expect big changes. I won't change the configuration of the buildings or anything like that. There are just small things that I can complete, that kind of thing. And after, I will optimize the part usage to try to include as most as possible pieces that are on the two Diagon Alley sets that I have. Of course, without affecting the design. After that, it's time to order parts and to build instructions. A lot of fun stuff ahead. I would love to get your feedback on this design. Just use the comments. And remember, like, subscribe, and see you soon.